78% of suicide rates worldwide are men. What can we do to help them? Provide more opportunities to form communities and activities that cater to different men's needs. A lot of us don't have friends or intimate platonic relationships, and we're in desperate need of that. Not turn them away when they tell us what they're struggling with. Oh my dog, this blew up. Anyway, I'm so sorry to everyone who posted here sharing their cases of being turned down. I hope you all find someone who is gonna listen and help you. Blue heart, sparkling heart. Don't shame us for asking for help or appearing weak. Treat us like humans. I was sexually assaulted as a child and frequently tried to harm myself, but whenever I talked to someone about it, they scoffed and said I was telling fibs, and #X200B. Edit. Thank you for all the kind words. Please, if you're thinking of hurting yourself, please seek help. Don't go it alone. We like hugs and #X200B. And #X200B. Just hug PLS. I wanna hug. Edit. Wow, that's a lot of hugs. Hugs everyone who saw this. Probably do something about the male homeless problem. Last stat I saw was around 85% of the homeless population was male. Statistically speaking, men work more, work longer hours, work in more dangerous professions, and consume more drugs, alcohol, and other. In addition, men, on average, have fewer close friends and feel lonelier than women. I think the fatigue of such a life can be quite draining. I don't think the problem is that men do not talk about their feelings. I think the problem is that they often don't have someone to talk to. In addition, it can be quite hard to make new friends, especially when you are past your 20s. You know, people you are potentially interested in are married and have kids. The AA rep are occupied with their own lives. I felt very lonely and sad after my last long-term relationship ended. It took me over 6 months to find new friends, and I'm a hardcore extrovert still. I made a bunch of new friends within the past year or so. I'd like to encourage anyone who feels lonely to put yourself out there. Talk to people. If you like them, ask them if they like to hang out with you. Do you know how I became friends with one of my best friends? I straight up told him that I felt lonely and that I like him and would like to become friends with him. And for those of you who already have plenty of friends in a busy life, maybe make some room for people in your community who aren't as blessed as you are. Compliment them, even if it's something small. Wow, that's a nice shirt. It looks good on you. Your hair looks nice today. A girl complimented my nose 4 years ago. Weird, I know, but I still remember that compliment. Give us one compliment. Just one. A girl once said I had really pretty eyes. That shit was 7 years ago, and I remember it perfectly because it's all I've gotten in 7 years. Stop telling them to man up or grow a pair, because men suffer too. Treat their mental health seriously. When they are struggling with a problem, the only advice that is given to them to man up, which, in my opinion, they have, and they just need actual help. Destigmatize men talking about their feelings and thoughts. Hugs, compliments, and cuddles. Men does not get enough of these things. Work towards fixing the fact that most men have some form of depression. Not abandon your best friend of 10 years after he begged you for help. Truck you, Sam. Kill us yourselves. That way the suicide rate is lower. Although we are encouraged to be open about how we feel or think, we can't. If something is a genuine problem and we verbalize it, the reaction is almost always others jumping down our throat, as we have no right to complain or mocking us. We have supposedly been living privileged. It's become worse in recent years as we literally have to tiptoe around while being blamed for everything generations before us supposedly did. Most men alive today had no part in anything that was done to others. We were born into a different world where we have always been on the back foot, yet carry a lot of the blame and stigma from things we had nothing to do with. I'm expecting this post to get mass downvoted purely for openly saying what I personally live in. Experience. We don't talk about that shit because it gets hammered back at us. So we shut the truck up and just keep going until we break. Then everyone ice like, oh, you should have said something. No. We should NT, as it just creates more stress and makes things more difficult. And #X200B. You want to help? Then create an environment for men equal to that of everyone else instead of dwelling on the doings of long dead people and putting men separate and last. The thing about equality is that everyone is equal regardless of gender, sexuality and age, etc. People want to know what can be done to help. But when they know, it just gets buried again. It's easier to just not bring it up so we don't face all the BS and drama about how hard everyone else has as if we live in golden castles. Too many people see the world through decades-old rose-tinted glasses. Things need to change. I think a big part of it is a sense of purpose. Increasingly, the work we do doesn't produce such apparent results. For instance, a man used to go into the woods and hunt an animal. It was very difficult, but when he came home with meat, his family could eat and everyone was thankful that they aren't eating soup again. Everyone loves Dad, but today, a man might go into the office, input some data, crunch some numbers, sign some paperwork. But what is he doing? Does his wife and kids appreciate it? Not as much, and it's not just work. Men used to mow their lawn, change their oil, repair things around the house, etc. But now all of that stuff is hired out to others. The result is that they don't feel useful or appreciated. And if they aren't useful, what is their purpose? It's kind of like generating versus consuming content. If you sit and watch YouTube all day every day, you will start to feel like a pretty worthless piece of shit. But if you create YouTube videos, you would feel like you're doing something, like you have a purpose. That applies to life in general. People are increasingly consuming more and creating less. I have noticed that when I start to feel down and depressed, it's because of this. It's usually when I haven't had any little wins in my life and I have just been kind of floating through and going through the motions. If I let that go for too long, I could see how it could lead to deep dark depression. So what can we do? Women, show your men affection and appreciation. Even if they don't do much good, at least show appreciation for the little good they do to motivate them to do better and grow. And men, do something. Help out around the house. Fix something. Draw something. Do something nice for your partner or your kids. Learn another language. Learn a musical instrument. Build something. Just be productive and try to limit the time you are consuming TV, video games, browsing the internet, reading fiction, social media, etc. You'll feel much more accomplished and healthy when you have more to offer the world, those around you, and yourself. A previous member of the Norwegian royal family committed suicide this Christmas. 50-year-old male. After this, the Prime Minister told the public that she wanted to investigate the mental health of the population, especially for girls. Sometimes I hate politics. We are failing our precious boys. US-centric response. So many responses are around supposed cultural insistence that men be tough or stoic. But over the last few decades there has been a huge cultural push to make it okay for men to be sensitive and share feelings. An American male is way more encouraged to express his feelings than he was in 2000, or 1990, or 1980. Has this correlated to a decrease in the male suicide rate? Is there an objective increase? Or is this all perception based on increased information availability? Real questions. Stop assuming anyone concerned about men's issues is a misogynist. Probably ease all of the pressure our society puts on men. We don't talk about the emotional toll of social pressure on men nearly enough. People's reaction to men that commit suicide. Greater than OMG, that's so tragic. If only he had gotten help. How could anyone think they're that alone? People's reaction to men on the verge of suicide. Greater than OMG. He's so creepy. He's such a downer. Stay away from him. He's such a freak. Ew. Can you imagine even living like that? Pathetic. What a loser. So cringe. It's pretty much this man here, with mental health experience. Here's a few things that would help. 1. No financial barriers to therapy. It's a net benefit to everyone if taxes are spent on free access to therapy. Even in my country of Canada, I couldn't afford $150 an hour for therapy when I was suicidal. Point 2. Early education in personality psychology. There should be a course starting in 9th grade about the Big 5 personality model and how your idiosyncrasies as a person contribute to your mental health. Big change when I learned about this at the age of 30.3. Stop with the patriarchy and man-hating nonsense. Most men are not in the 1%. It sucks when you're told you oppress people just by existing. Like, dude, I'm $500 away from being homeless and have no friends. WTF are you even talking about? Point 4. Encourage positive male role models. We need good, wise, strong father figures to instill positive masculinity in our boys and young men so you don't fall prey to the dark side of masculinity. Father figures matter. There's so much to say, but that's all I've got. An uncle-in-law shot himself to death this week. The guy was screaming for help and threatening Toto if for days. He was 48. What are the options? If I was dealing with heavy depression and just wanted to talk to someone, where do I go? I've sought independent counselors and they usually turn out to be nutcases themselves. Seems like this just adds to the overall feeling of hopelessness. Both genders receive an awful lot of unfairness. It seems to me that it's semi-universally embraced to try to correct unfairness against women. But don't you dare speak out against unfairness to men. I was talking to my wife the other day about something I noticed at work. I'm a not conventionally attractive guy, and through the couple years I worked at this job, I noticed that all of the single younger women were somewhat cold to me. One-word answers. Not smiling. That kind of thing. I am monogamous, and was happily taken this whole time. I never said anything even slightly flirtatious. Just tried to have general chit-chat while I fixed their computers. Suddenly after getting married, which was announced to everyone at work, all of these women were willing to speak to and be friendly back to me. I mean, all of them. It caught me off guard. They ask me questions now. We have actual conversations. Complete 180 degrees. My wife and I think this is because they were trying to avoid friendliness so I wouldn't hit on them, as they've likely had experiences with that kind of thing in the past. Can we all agree that this paradigm is a problem for both genders? I met my wife in high school. I was one of the lucky ones. Imagine being a less than attractive guy without a partner, and the only available women literally refuse to talk to you, through no fault of your own. I was 100% workspace etiquette appropriate and was still met with that response. So isn't always an issue of the guy being creepy or forward. No wonder so many guys get depressed, or so many go down the dark road of red pill bullshit. It doesn't matter how much of a good personality you have if they don't treat you like a person. I realize loneliness is only one of many causes of male suicides, but I'm ultra empathetic. Reminds me of the George Carlin bit, women attempt suicide more often, but men succeed more often. So men are better at it. If women want to be truly equal, they have to start taking their own lives in greater numbers. Edit. Link to bit. Link. Stop using expressions such as man up. Stop being a pussy when a man expresses any sad emotions. Lead by example. For so long, men have been taught that they always have to be hard and tough to be real men. It's time to break that cycle and have fathers show their sons and daughter that it's okay to feel all the emotions. That it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable and open up about your struggles. Accepting that men can also be victims of physical, emotional abuse and rape, and providing as much support for them as we do for women. Listen to each other. It's pointless telling men to open up about their feelings if no one is there to take them seriously. Body shaming is just as bad when it's directed at a man. Men receive so little compliments. Tell them they're looking fit. Edit. Thank you so much for the gold. I'm finding the discussion in the replies so interesting and I'm so glad to be part of it. You people raised some great points. I'll reply later, but just to clear up a few things. When I say let men cry and show feelings, I do not mean they need to start crying and mull over every little thing. All I'm saying is that there needs to be a healthy balance between expressing and regulating your emotions. Everyone has different coping mechanisms, yes. At times it is necessary to just suck it up, to do what you gotta do. However, it's not healthy to just suppress every negative emotion, something that's still often encouraged in our society. Not only does this cause things to build up, eventually destroying your mental health, but also, it inhibits you from learning how to communicate your feelings, good and bad, to people. If something hurts, then it trucking hurts. If it upsets you to the point of tears, that's okay. Let it all out. There's no shaming here. Girlfriend broke up with you and you need to just talk it out. Call up your friend. Tell them how this really sucks and how they can support you. Don't feel like talking to anyone about it. That's okay too. Let your friends know that you're going through a hard time and you can fill them in later if you want to, after you've had your time alone. In short, let's break down those outdated gender norms and start using those healthy coping mechanisms. Cheers. Allow men to express sorrow without shaming them and instead supply support. The real men don't cry idea kills. Have a very serious conversation about how every large percentage of these men have been trucked over in divorce and child custody proceedings. People tend to gloss right over this atrocity where men realistically have their lives ruined and see no reason to keep living. Don't expect men to be manly. We have worries, we have fears just like anyone else. Sometimes we don't want sex. We just want someone to hold us and tell us everything is going to be okay. The modern world shouldn't expect someone to be anything other than a contributing member of society. Anyway, men like power and feeling looked up to. But like women and children, we need someone to love us and someone we can fall back on. When a man, or even a woman, is shutting people out and isolating themselves, they need your love the most. I know this will get buried, but I hope someone can take something from this. Stop teaching them to suppress and bottle up their emotions. If you know how to actually feel the things you're experiencing, then when shit gets hard you can deal with it easier. Otherwise you're left with a sense of discomfort, a nauseating, sickening twisting in your gut, and a sense that something is wrong. You're not sure what, just that things aren't right and you need it to stop right now. You drink, you punch the wall, you hurt yourself, you try to cry but tears don't come because all you know about crying is man up, grow up, boys don't cry. You try to tell people you're not okay. A shrug when they ask how things are going. telling people who care about you you're not feeling so great or having a bad week. But the lackluster way. That is the only way you feel comfortable talking about how you feel doesn't draw the help it needs. And why would it? Or should it? You're a man. You shouldn't ask for help, or even need it. You deal with the things alone because you're a rock. A pillar of support. The one who stays calm when things go wrong, so instead of unloading or dealing with the issues they get carried, bottled up, pushed down, hidden, you desensitize yourself to them however you can and remain stoic. But eventually even stone crumbles, and when it does it's too late. There's too much. It's overwhelming. You don't even know where to start. The only thing you know is you want it to stop, need it to stop, and admitting you need help now would only make it hurt more. But you're sure you can't stand another ounce of pain, so you take the only option available. I don't think we should help people with committing suicide. Nobody wants to talk about men's issues. If 78% of suicides were women, it would be talked about non-stop. Just look at breast cancer versus prostate cancer. There is virtually no public awareness about prostate cancer. Stop overworking and underpaying them and putting unreasonable expectations on them. Emotional support is useless if it does not fix the problem. If you are in the USA, get them a job that pays decently without the constant risk of layoff. Duetto outsourcing. The impact on the male population of the shift to technology from labor has been pretty bad. This is one of those unintended consequences that has a real body count, like deregulation and weakening the social safety net. Stop telling boys when they're young they are not allowed to experience natural human emotions. Create an actual support network so that boys aren't reluctant to seek help. Stop telling boys they are worthless if they didn't possess psychopathic levels of narcissism and emotional stoicism. Parents need to start taking responsibility for the damage they cause to their kids, instead of just blaming it all on other kids. Parents, society in general needs to reduce the stigma of mental illness, especially when it comes to how it affects young men. Stop telling boys and young men to simply stop being a vagina and deal with it. There are certain scenarios where they do in fact need to man up to a degree, but it just doesn't apply universally. Stop putting almost all the pressure of success entirely on men. We live in a society now where the majority of people need a second income to survive, and it shouldn't be only one sex's responsibility. Stop telling men they are worthless if they don't possess an unattainable standard of wealth and genetics, not to mention an unrealistically ideal family upbringing. Stop allowing men to be completely truck it over in divorce like it should be totally normal. Lawyers and judges are mostly to blame here. I can't count how many times I've tried to approach friends about what I'm going through and gotten cold trucking receptions. I've been ghosted by friends on more than one occasion for doing little more than having feelings. Men are meant to act like nothing ever bothers them at all, and so we end up bottling it up till it comes out in the worst ways. For me, it's often alcohol. Compliment them more. Let them know they look nice. Guys deserve just as many compliments as women. Maybe stop treating them like shit and blaming everything on them. Like dealing with kids. You're probably a pedophile. Being nice to a girl. You just want to get in her pants. Woman goes to school for some BS degree rather than STEM. Somehow that's all men's fault, because apparently we're all misogynists for choices we have no part in. Not to mention a justice system leans in favor of women significantly, so most guys get much harsher sentences compared to women, if the woman is even charged in the first place. I can't even count how many times I've seen sexual assault towards men that wasn't taken seriously. Had it been the other way around, all hell would have been let loose. Top that with the fact we're still expected to be the typical man in the relationship, which essentially means we're stuck providing for everything. Even thought a typical housewife doesn't exist anymore. Totally acceptable for a woman to have a fun job she enjoys, even if it pays nothing and hardly contributes to the overall income. If you're a guy, you'd better have a good job that pays well even if you hate it, because you've got a family to support. Not only that, but there's zero support for men. Man has a problem? Suck it up, bitch. Boy, woman, has a problem? Support from everyone she knows, as well as support groups designed specifically for women. Being a man in 2020 is hard. You are entirely on your own, blamed for everything, and expected to provide the world. I'm not trying to blame women, but it's extremely obvious how poorly society treats men. Start treating men and women equally.